Welcome everyone to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. This is Dan Bloodworth, and as you can see, I'm going to do another potentially brief look at combining up some of the resources that I have for running 4 Against Darkness. If you followed some of my other videos earlier on, you've seen that 4 Against Darkness is a solitaire, so a solo player RPG. And basically play it solo and you use randomized charts and graphs and situations to generate a dungeon crawl that your group of 4 characters are running through. So I've been playing the game for about 2 weeks now, and I've been tweaking some of the resources that are available, and just trying to come up with the best work through for myself, so that these game sessions will last what is expected to be like a 45-minute gameplay. So what I'm going to do today is instead of drawing out the maps, I'm going to be using Axebane's deck of many dungeons, and not using the actual information that's on the card. So I'll just hold one up here. So this is actually an entryway card for Axebane's deck of many dungeons. So all of the ace cards, and I have a complete deck plus a supplement, so I actually have five potential dungeon entries. And then what you do is you lay the card out, and which I'll show you a little bit later. You lay the card out, and then it will you piece together the dungeon as you're drawing cards. And what I'm hoping is that it does take some of the time that it takes to actually draw a dungeon. Now I'll be able to just lay down the cards. It'll save a little bit of time. Now, Axebane's is actually a self-contained game. It has game rules and stuff, and when you roll the random possibility on the card itself, it'll tell you what the player characters are encountering. And this also is a solo game, or you could run it with players as well. So I think that was an ace card. Oh no, that was a queen. All right, so I'm going to kind of shuffle that into the deck a little bit. So some other things that I've done. So I updated my camera for document viewing. So I'm hoping that you'll see a difference in the quality of document display. And I'll bring that up, at this time. So as you can see, I've made, I typed out a character sheet. And so this is my, main character, or the team leader of the group. He's a dwarf, level 3 at this time. And what I did was I added the trait. So I made it kind of generic. So, if I have to, if this character gets killed off, then I can just, fill in the name and the level of any new character and life points and such. But this will not change. So this is the generic sheet for a dwarven character. As far as those particular cells are, included. And then I have my barbarian, and these are in the marching order as well. And as the adventure goes, I will fill out, adventure notes, anything, in particular for the character that that's important to remember for the next adventure. And this is my elf character. And as you can see, I listed all of their attack bonuses and such for their attack roll. So she has a +2 in general, +3 against orcs, and a +2 defense roll, regardless of who or what is attacking her. And then finally, the fourth in the marching order is my cleric. And once again, it has everything laid out as far as, some of the generic. So under adventure notes, I put, his particular spells that he's carrying. So 3 blessing and 3 healings. And I included what his healing spell, heal actually does. So D6 +2 based on his level. Now another thing that I wrote up, so let me just move him off of here. Struggling a little bit getting the pages to separate. So what I've also done is I've created a party sheet, so I can kind of keep track of their, the entire party's, current health, and a reminder of what their attack and defense abilities are. That way I don't have to refer back to the character sheets as often, hopefully. And I also want to keep track of the individual characters' kills, as far as, whether they killed, vermin or, minions or bosses, and then any notes that involved the actual combat encounters that they had. And then at the very bottom, I'll adjust this a little bit. You can see I have a very general notes section as well. One other thing that I copied off is, so this was on a website, actually through the Facebook page, I believe, and it's just an encounters scratch sheet as well, so I can keep track of these, going along. Now, one thing I didn't do the last time was I didn't actually go through how you selected an adventure. So you basically roll a d6 on this chart, and it'll tell you what the actual adventure is going to be. So I had already pre-done this, so I had rolled a 4, so it was to bring me that, and so to bring me that, the Shield of Warning is the adventure title. And what I did was I went to one of the charts. I believe it was like special items or extraordinary items, list and chart, and rolled it to see what item they would actually be fetching. So I've done that as well. So when we go to, I'm just going to shift gears a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I have my 5 aces. Like I said, I had a supplement, so I have all 5 of my aces here, and so I'm just going to shuffle them up and just randomly pick an ace card, and I'll see how this displays. Okay, so let's see how how I can get this to show up on your screen. Okay, I'll come up and out a little bit. Okay, so this is my starting, my entryway of the dungeon, and what you do for 4 against what you do for 4 Against Darkness is that, you know, when you come into a room, you want to see what's actually going on inside that room. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll 2d6. And 2d6 on this chart will tell me what's actually going on in that room. So I rolled a 6. And so when I come to the chart and I read a 6, it says for a room, since this is the entry, it says roll on the vermin table. All right, so you can do several things with this. You can, I actually printed out the different tables. You can also go to the PDF, or you could open up the book. So I printed out the table and I put it on like a DM screen, so it's easy to refer to, and it's a 1d6 roll, and so you can see I rolled a 2, and a 2 on the vermin table is 3d6 vampire bats. All right, so there's going to be 3d6 vampire bats in this particular room. So I am going to go to my chart now. I'll put it over that map for a moment. And I lost my pencil. There it is. So I'm going to go over here, and this is encounter. This is encounter number 1. I'll bring zoomness down, and that's way down. It'll automatically adjust, I hope. There it goes. So this is a minion. So I'm going to check off on a minion. And vampire bats are level 1. And their count was 3d6. Oh, I actually need another d6. And so I rolled a total of 6. So there were 6 bats. And my characters typically, they do not, they typically attack first. They generally do not like to hold off on attacking. So I'm going to, and they don't like to give the opponent the opportunity. Since there's a dwarf in the group, I'm going to zoom back out again. And let's see if I can get this to go pretty well. I have this centered. And I'll let it get caught up again. It takes a moment for it to auto focus. But anyway. So I'm going to go to my characters now, and I have them set up here on my sheet, and I'm going to see how many they actually attack and hit. So these are only level 1, so really all of my characters only need to roll is a 1 to hit them. And considering their points, they might actually be able to hit several of these and potentially kill several of them with just 1 attack roll. So my dwarf Tybor has a +4 in general. So he rolled a 5 total. A 1 plus 4 is a 5. There were 6 bats, and he's going to be able to kill 5 of the 6 in his very first attack. My next character up in the marching order is the barbarian. He gets a +2. And so he will kill the remaining 2 bats. So, like I said, for minions, the dwarf has killed 5, the barbarian has killed 2, and now we check to see, so they have no treasure. Spells cast are -1 due to their distracting shriek. Alright, so just kind of a nuisance kind of creature that they encountered. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my deck. And so, like I said, I'm using the deck here, and I could do another quick shuffle just so it's kind of randomized. What you do is you pull out all of the aces and all of the kings when you're using this deck. The aces are the entryways, and the kings are the end results. So this is the next room. What I like about this is that you can decide which section you want to put it on. So I'm going to put this here in and go in this direction, since it seems to be, it'll work towards this here. So they're in a corridor now. Even though I know ahead of time now that there's a room here, they are in a corridor now. And so I am going to check to see on the corridor's encounter table what I come across. So I bring my sheet back over here, roll 2d6, I rolled an 11, and so on the corridor side, there's actually a boss. So I'm going to see, maybe someplace, maybe perhaps by this door, because it kind of makes sense, there's going to be a boss there. Now, boss battles are a little bit different. So let me check my boss table. Rolling 1d6 on the boss table, I rolled a 1. And on the boss table, it is a level 5 mummy. It gets 2 attacks. It has 4 life points. And it has treasure +2. Any character killed by a mummy will become another mummy and must be fought by the party. Mummies are attacked at a +2 by a fireball spell. Mummies never test morale, and their reaction is always to fight. So they're going to encounter a mummy. Now there's a 1 in 6 chance that this mummy actually has the shield. So this could actually end up being a very, very short, mission for the character party. So once again, I'm going to check off here now. So I'm using this, tally sheet again. And now I have a boss. And he's level 5, which means my character is going to have to roll at least a 5 to hit him. There's only 1. And so we are going to, and I'll keep track of his hit points. So he has 4 hit points basically. So I'm just going to go and circle this. And so what I did was I circled the number of hit points he potentially has. Kind of hard to see here. So I'm going to go to my character sheets again. So now because it's in a corridor, I'm only going to be able to get 2 characters to attack him at one time. So my dwarf is going to attack. So he rolled a 1, but he does have a +4. So he rolled 5. So he just scored 1 hit on the mummy, doing 1 point of damage. My barbarian has a +2. So he only rolled a 2, so a total of a 4. So he had no effect on the, on the mummy. Now I do have a cleric in the group, and the cleric, mummies being undead, the cleric will have bonuses against this mummy. So the party is going to try to organize itself so that it can, get the most effective, characters up against this thing. But being trapped in the corridor, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to do that. So now that it's the mummy's turn, and the mummy is going to... the mummy doesn't make an attack roll. What happens is that the characters that it is attacking have to make their defense rolls. So if they make their defense roll, they've successfully, against a level 5 creature, then they'll successfully have made their defense. So Tybor makes his defense roll. So his defense, he's using his battle axe, is a +2. So he rolled a 7. So that is sufficient enough for him to avoid any damage. And then, let's see, actually, I didn't check to see who the mummy is actually attacking. The mummy is going to attack one or the other. There's only 2 that it can attack, so it attacked Tybor. Let's see if it attacks Tybor again. No, its second attack is going to be against the barbarian. The barbarian is lighter armored. He only gets a +2 to this. All right, but a 6. So he managed to avoid being damaged as well. So it is the next round, and the characters are trying to maneuver. And I'm going to say that it will take 1 action round for both the barbarian and the cleric to trade places. Tybor is going to attack, and he rolled a 6, which is, for him, is actually going to be a 10. So this is an interesting thing, because when you do more damage than the level of the creature that you're attacking, particularly one, when you've done double the amount of damage needed. So he's actually going to do 2 points of damage with that hit. That's actually a very, very good hit to have achieved against this mummy here. Mummy's going to get its 2 attacks. And once again, it's going to go certainly at Tybor. And then I'll see where its second attack goes, perhaps at the cleric. So Tybor has a defense of +2, and he got hit. Hold on, my screen just went into a... So Tybor took a hit. So I'm going to go to Tybor's sheet, and characters generally only take 1 point of damage when they're hit, but sometimes bosses deal 2. When it says, very specifically that a boss hits for 2 points. So Tybor is going to take 1 hit, and he's going to go from 8 life points to 7. Now, the mummy attacks number 3. It is going to attack the cleric, who shifted into place. And the cleric has a +3 defense. He is, carrying a mace. He gets a bonus towards hitting undead. And he's also wearing heavy armor. So he has a +3 to this. And he rolled enough straight up not to take any damage, but his bonus, that's most likely an armor hit, and so has no effect upon him. And now it is the character's turn again. Tybor is going to go first. And once again, Tybor does a decent amount of damage. And he actually kills, or destroys, I should say. He actually destroys this boss. And so Tybor now has a boss kill. Now, when you kill a boss, there's a chance that, number one, that the boss has the end objective. So that's on a d6 roll and needs to roll a 1. All right, so he does not have the objective. So he's not carrying the shield. At least it's not here yet. Could be in this room. We don't know yet. So next thing I'm going to check is I can check if any of the characters in the group, starting with the lowest, has gained the level. Whenever you kill a boss, the characters have a chance to gain a level. So the lowest level characters in the group are 2nd level. So they'd have to roll above a 2, on a d6 roll in order to gain a level anytime that a boss is killed. Now they can only make this roll for a particular, during an adventure, once for a boss kill, and then once after a total of 10 combat encounters. So there's generally only 2 opportunities to gain a level during an adventure. All right, so let's say the cleric, since I'm going to argue that it has to be somebody who actually engaged in the combat. And since the magic user, or the elf I should say, did not play a role in this, so I'm going to make the cleric. The cleric is going to go up to level 3. That means his life points are going to go up to a 7. And a general note, cleric, leveled, boss, mummy. Okay. So now we're going to go into this, or we're going to check out what's inside this door. Oh, the mummy treasure. Forgot. So the mummy has treasure items, and the mummy's treasure roll was a +2. So we're going to go to the treasure table, and we're going to roll +2 on this. So that's a 5. So one item of jewelry worth 3d6 times 10 gold pieces. So 50 gold piece necklace, jewelry. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good roll. So now they're going to check this door. Now, in the rules, the doors can, and I'll go to the book. So doors. On a roll of 1 or 2, the door is locked. On a roll of 6, then you roll a d6 for the level of the lock. And so we're going to see if the door is locked. It's not locked. All right, so it is open. And so they don't have to smash down the door. So now they're entering into another room. So I'm going to go to my guide. And I'm into another room now. Roll 2d12. And this time I rolled an 8. and I'm rolling on the minions table. So D6 on the minions table. I rolled a 3, and there are D6 hobgoblins in this room. They are level 4, +1 treasure. Various reactions, but like I said, my characters almost always just attack. And so we have a minion. I'm using this scratch sheet again. And D6 hobgoblins. Only one. I believe they were level 4. Yes, treasure is +1. There's only one. There's a significant chance that this that Tybor is just going to kill this guy. And yes, Tybor rolled a total of a 6. And so that is going to kill this minion. Treasure of a 5, because they were +1 treasure. And another jewelry item, someplace in this room, another jewelry item. This particular one is 6, 7, worth 70. Now, there is, anytime that you encounter a room that's empty, the characters get to do a search and see if they, if they found, some hidden item, hidden door or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my deck, make sure I put my aces over there, and the next card. So there's my next card. So my next card here, you can see is a continuous door, and then there's potentially a treasure chest in here. But like I said, I'm just using these cards for the rooms itself, so that I don't have to roll randomized. But I'm going to count this corridor here, and then there's actually 2 separate chambers. So there's potential for quite a bit going on in this particular area. The first thing I'm going to do is check the corridor. A 3 is roll on the traps table. I've never encountered a trap. So traps table D6, a 6, and giant stone block, level 5, falls on the first character, right, in the marching order. Well, that's either Tybor or the Tybor is usually, in the lead, so it's going to fall on Tybor. So Tybor is going to get his chance to defend himself. Let's see. Let me read on maps, traps, because I've never encountered one actually. So traps. So the giant stone, this level 5 attack strikes the last character in the marching order Well, the character must make a defense roll or lose 2 life. The bonus from armor counts, but the bonus from shield does not. Alright, so I kind of misread that on the other chart. Alright, so the last character. Alright, so that's the cleric. So the cleric has a +3, so only +2 because the shield does not count. And he rolled a 7 total. So he avoided any damage. Probably bounced off his heavy armor. Alright. First room, we check to see if that double door is locked, and it is not. And so we're going to check that room. $2d6. So that's a 10. So that's a weird monsters table. So let's see what we end up with in the weird monsters table. All right, so this is a Minotaur. He's level 5, 4 hit points, 2 attacks, normal treasure, due to the power of its bull rush. Charge. The first defense roll against a Minotaur is at a -1. Minotaurs hate halflings. All right, so but he's definitely a boss. So this is going to be a second boss. So there's a chance that he will have a so he is a boss. He is level 5. He has 4 hit points. Tybor is going to attack him. And Tybor hit barely with a 5. And so he does 1 point of damage. The barbarian attacks. He rolled a 6, which is enough to injure. The Minotaur is going to attack one or the other. He is attacking, I rolled a 2, so he is going to attack Tybor. Remember, Tybor only gets he loses 1 point on this charge, and so his defense overall is only a +1. Alright, so he takes a hit, and looking back, so he is going to take 1 hit point of damage, or life point of damage, I should say. So he's down to his 6 now. The second attack also hits is going for Tybor. And Tybor did not make his defensive roll. And so now he's down to 5 hit points. So Tybor has already taken 3 of his 8 hit points. He may start suffering some penalties once he gets to half damage. So hopefully the cleric will come in and cast a heal on him, which is the first thing the cleric is going to do. So the cleric heals, and he just went up a level. So now his healing will be d6 + 3. And that was certainly a very good heal. So he is going to go up here, and the cleric just marking off that the cleric did a successful heal. And now Tybor attacks. That's an 8 for him. That's going to do 1 point of damage. Barbarian attacks. Ooh, excellent roll for him. So that's also an 8. And so he is going to end up actually killing the boss. So he gets a boss kill here. All right. Normal treasure roll. So we'll see what treasure is in this room. A 2. $2d6 gold pieces. So total of 9 gold pieces. And like I said, if I roll a 1 here, that means that the shield might be in here. Did not though, so still have not encountered the shield. Next set of doors, I'm going to check to see if they're locked. They are not locked. Going to see what is inside this room here. A 7. Minions table. 5. D3 trolls. I'm going to round up, make that 3 trolls, and they are level 5. Normal treasure. They regenerate if you don't chop them. So they're level 5. There's 3 of them. On a roll of a 5 or a 6, once you've knocked them, killed them, they can reanimate, come back, or regenerate, I should say, and come back up again. So now this character group has fought trolls before, so they kind of know, what to expect and how to counteract their, their ability to recover. So the elf is going to probably hang back. What they'll try to do is they'll try to switch spaces. The elf is going to hold off because he does have an edged weapon, which can be used for chopping. And the barbarian and the cleric, once again, are going to try to switch spots because the cleric uses a mace, and so that will free up the barbarian to use his edged weapon to spend the round chopping any of the fallen. And the dwarf attacks first. He's going to deal 10 points of damage. So he actually knocks down 2 of them in the very first round. The cleric and the barbarian were switching spaces. The elf is going to hack one of these 2 down. He won't be able to engage the 3rd one, all right, because the marching order had been changing. But he can certainly make sure one of those is not going to get back up again. So the remaining troll attacks. It's going to attack Tybor. And Tybor's total roll is a 5. Let me just double check that. Yes, his total roll is a 5. So he's going to take 1 point of damage from it. So one of the other 2 that was knocked down, he's not going to get up, so he is still down. The other one can't get back up again, so Tybor is now going to attack. And he killed it. So he killed 2 more. Actually, he put the killing blow on all 3 of them. So we are going to check on the treasure. Roll the 6. 6 on the treasure. One random magic item from the magical treasures table below. Wow, that's the first time that my group is going to find a magical item. A 3. Fool's Gold. These magical but fake gold pieces will let the user automatically bribe the next monsters that ask for a bribe. Wow, what a useless magic item form. But, alright, so they gain some Fool's Gold magic item. Fool's Gold. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Alright, so you can see here that they hit a dead end. So as they backtrack, there's actually the chance for a random encounter. All right, during any of the sections of the dungeon that they had already passed through. So in the book, there's a section on random encounters. And there's a chart for random encounters. Let's see. Wandering Monster Table. It's actually on page 57 in the rule book if you're interested. Roll the 6. Roll in the boss monster table. Reroll any dragon. A wandering monster may not be the final boss. Okay. So I'm going to roll another boss. 3rd boss battle. I just remembered I didn't roll to see if anybody leveled up the last time. So I rolled a 4. Let's see, 4, 4, 4. Boss, a 4. Is a Medusa. Fought one of these before too. Yeah, I did not make a boss check the last time. So she's level 4. She has 4 hit points. I did not make a check before. All right, let me check the numbers here. So a Medusa is level 4 for hit points. She has a chance all characters at the beginning of the battle must save versus a level 4 gaze attack or be turned to stone. Petrified characters are out of the game until... Alright, so everybody is going to have to make a level 4 check. Unless a blessing spell is cast on them. Rogues had half their level to this save. Okay. It might actually be... It might actually be a good idea for them to try to use the Fool's Gold to bribe. Let me read that treasure. These magical but fake gold pieces will let the user automatically bribe the next monster that attacks for that asks for a bribe. No matter what the monster asks, the gold will appear to be enough. So, let's see, Medusa. Let's read Medusa reactions on a 1. It's only on a 1 that she... Did they give up the turn? Yeah, I'm going to give up the turn. Nope. All right, so each character is going to have to make a save versus their versus getting stoned to death. So they add their level. Let me just double check that. So it's a versus a level 4 spell. I find saving throws. Spells. Save versus. Some rules instructed the name attack is normally descriptive. For example, characters are urged to save versus a level 3 spell or lose 1 life. A full character rolling a character rolling a 1 or a 2 will lose 1 life. Characters rolling a 3+ will be fine. Barbarians and halflings have bonuses against, so they have to roll a 4 or better in order not to, and with no bonuses. Okay, so they have to roll their a 4 or better. The dwarf rolls a 4, so he is safe. The barbarian rolls a 1. He is stoned. The elf rolls a 3. She is stoned. It's the cleric. The cleric needs to roll because he can cure this stuff up. Oh, this is the second time in an adventure that just the dwarf was left fighting against a Medusa. It is now the Medusa's attack. Alright, she just gets one attack after the gaze. And she hit Tybor for, because he only has a +2, so he took 1 point of damage. He's down to 6. So he's going to attack. And he did a total of 8 points of damage. She is a level 4, so she took 2. Her next attack on him, he takes another point of damage. He's rolling terrible. He attacks on her, and he is going to kill her with that. So he just killed another boss. That's the second time he has done this. So, treasure, +1 on a treasure roll. Roll the 2, 2d6 gold pieces. So 7 gold pieces. Now it is just him. Now she's a boss, so let's see if she actually has the shield. She does not. So at this point here, it's just the dwarf. And he was making his way towards the exit. So he is going to take the loot that he has from this adventure, and he is going to head back to town to try to buy some scrolls of blessing. I'll check to see how much those things actually cost, and if he can, he really only needs to buy 1. So 100 gold pieces for a blessing spell. So, but like I said, all of the treasure that has been collected during this time is the... Oh, he has enough. So he will be able to do that. All right, but what I'm going to do is, since he's the only one standing, I'm going to try to level him up. Since he killed another boss and he hasn't made that roll again. So he'd have to roll above a 3 now in order to level up to level 4. And he did not, so he is not going to level up. So he's going to, step out, take what loot items he does have, what coins and everything he does have, and then he's going to come back and use that, use that cure spell, to fix the cleric, and then the cleric has that spell as a, can use that 3 times and bring the rest of the party together. So once again, I hope, I'm going to just switch views here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that, you start to see that, this game really does come together. Once you become more and more familiar with the various rules of it, it comes, it starts, coming up pretty easy and a nice flow to it. You can see the game is not, it's not without risk. So there's some pretty badass monsters out there that you could run into. And, I do like using the deck of cards rather than drawing out the dungeons. I think that makes it move a lot smoother. So, you know, I will leave a link to Axbane's deck of many dungeons in the video description. And so if you want to take a look at that. And I also have a video where I speak specifically about using this deck as well. So once again, I mean, taking basically three different things. I didn't show you, I mean, I do have my deluxe edition melee maps on the side that I was going to, actually lay these cards out on, but once I noticed that I had enough room on my desktop to do that as well, I decided not to use the mat. But if the dungeon got very much larger, I would have just shifted the camera view and started laying the cards out onto that mat, that play mat, which is pretty useful as well. So and then once again, it's always good to have your screen. So I put together a screen and I have all the different charts and everything. So a lot less flipping through the book using the screen as well. So that, I think streamlined the experience quite a bit. So once again, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you for joining. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you like the video, please give it a like, and any comments are welcome. So, comments are, very useful to me, so I can see, what you're thinking and what you might like to see in the future. So you have a good night.